the time of
bullshit,
day.
dude.
The time of day.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but
And it was
Donald
wrong.
Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers.
More than a communication problem, I think it's deeper. I think it's the soul of the Democratic Party. It's about the beliefs. It's about the values. It's not simply a comms problem.
Inclusive.
It's that why couldn't...
Hello, everybody. Guys, this panel gets heated. Of course, we have Scott Jennings and Coleman Hughes justifying and sanitizing Trump's racism and nasty rhetoric. Let's get right into it.
Activist named Alex Bruesewitz, who's J.D. Vance aide. The key thing to me, that as we were discussing the clown car, he's credited with the online sort of bro interviews that Trump did, but he's also credited with two other things. One, the Springfield eating cats and dogs lie, and two, that comedian at the Madison Square Garden rally. I think Trump now probably feels like, oh, it's all, fine and dandy, he won. But I mean, is it really wise for people like that to end up being even closer in the inner circle?
Guys, watch how Coleman Hughes, he's slick with his words. He has this very calm demeanor. He has a way, it's almost similar to Piers Morgan, even better in some ways, how he tries to sanitize and almost normalize Trump and act like, no, the racist stuff doesn't come from him. The fascist stuff doesn't come from him.
No, it's not wise. I think the Tony Hinchcliffe inclusion was one that, by all accounts, even the senior staff in the Trump campaign didn't approve. Trump tried to distance himself from it. Anyone who's making those kinds of decisions, I agree, should totally be distanced from the campaign. So far, he's only made one actual decision, which has, if it's a signal of things to come, I think it's a good signal. But let's hope that he distances the crazier elements of his campaign.
Why are we
from the cabinet.
pretending that somehow an almost 80-year-old Donald Trump is going to be a changed man, right? He is who he is. This is the man that we know. He's been around a really long time now. The clown car has always been here. It's never gone away.
As he said.
He said?
He said he's not one to admit to mistakes often. He's a very egoic man.
He said immigrants are eating cats and dogs. He said Kamala isn't black. He told 4 women of color to go back to their country. How can Coleman Hughes defend this? Like, you got to be careful more about these guys than these Alex Jones types. Right? For the American people who are not following politics, this stuff possibly works on them. And they start to think, oh, maybe Trump is not that racist. It's just mistakes being made around him. Are you serious? He's had racial charges against him for denying black people leasing agreements and stuff like that back in the 80s and 90s. Like, this guy's always been like this. He's always been racist. How about the Obama birtherism thing? This is why the Tony Hinchcliffe joke was even there. It's because they thought it was going to work. And if Trump didn't receive that backlash, do you really think he would distance himself from it? He obviously distanced himself from it because it didn't go smoothly like they thought it would. This is just insane.
We can all agree.
Right.
But he said the biggest mistake of his first term was picking the wrong people.
Because they
restrained him.
Exactly, the people that
This is actually
restrained
the
him.
perfect pivot for what I want to talk about next. Because
He also fired
when
Steve
Donald
Bannon.
Trump talks about picking the wrong people, I don't think he's talking about picking people who weren't smart, picking people who weren't talented. He was talking about picking people who weren't loyal enough. And the next biggest decision that he's going to make, Tara.
Like, you see Coleman Hughes moving, that's exactly it. He wanted people even more loyal. He got pissed at Jeff Sessions and fired him and forced him to resign or whatever it was because he wouldn't go after, who was it, Hillary Clinton or James Comey, one of these people. Right? Then he went after William Barr after he said there was nothing wrong with the election. He went after his vice president and was okay. Maybe he said maybe he deserves that because he wouldn't overthrow the election for him, and maybe he deserves to be hung. This is what his MAGA cultists were chanting outside the Capitol. This is what he means by loyal. And Coleman Hughes, he's not a dumb guy. He knows this is exactly what Trump means. These guys are gross and they're sneaky. They're much more sneaky than Scott Jennings. That he's just a outright moron racist.
Is going to be about who is going to be his attorney general. This is a position that is a linchpin position for Trump and his agenda. He wants this person to, according to him, prosecute his enemies, enforce immigration policy, drop the cases against himself and perhaps his associates, investigate his 2020 election lies, perhaps pardon January 6th rioters. So that's a tall order, and he needs somebody who's basically going to say, yes, sir, and go and do it.
Right, and I spoke to someone who is up for this role, and they were told me you have to be bold and fearless. That is the qualification that Donald Trump is looking for. But really, that means loyal. That means willing to go to the brink and do what he says. And as you know, he has a tall list. I mean, going after political enemies, I mean, they call it going after democratic lawfare. Essentially, I think what I was told at the top of the list, the priority is to go after the prosecutors who went after Donald Trump. Wow. They are the top of the enemy list, essentially. So this person he can't be anything like Jeff Sessions, no recusals. There's no case in which you can say, I don't feel comfortable with this. And so, yes, perhaps you have to be bold and fearless to be willing to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, the list, according to our reporting, is some of the people being considered: Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General; Andrew Bailey, Missouri Attorney General; Matt Whitaker, who was the former acting Attorney General in the Trump administration; Senator Mike Lee; and John Ratcliffe, the former Director of National Intelligence. Scott?
Yeah, there's a couple of other names I've heard floating around, too. Look, this is an important choice. This, defense, state, these are the Treasury. I mean, these are some of the main cabinets. But just to go back to Susie for a second, the fact that he got to this first, and the fact that she is going to have, influence over how the rest of this transition unfolds, whether it's picking Attorney General or any of these other high-level positions, I think we ought to all look at this as a wise decision, a good decision, and for everybody out there wanting Trump to pivot or change or somehow whatever you want him to do, he just won a mandate from the American people to execute on the program that he laid out in this election. It wasn't particularly close. And I think he ought to put people in place who are going to do it. That's what the people
go
are
after
asking
his
for.
enemies. I mean, that's
not what he ran on.
Yes, he did.
That's exactly what he ran on. And he ran on deporting 20 million Americans in one brutal, bloody day. This guy, Scott Jennings, I can't stand him. He's effing gross. And these guys have no skin in the game. Right? If Democrats win, his life is fine. If Republicans win, a fascist, racist, vile, Hitler-esque person wins, he's fine too. This is why he's such a smug little petulant brat. Ever since a child, I can only imagine.
It is explicitly what he ran on.
That's not what he ran on.
Look at what he said in the past week. He literally said that he was going to exact vengeance.
You still don't understand how you lost. He ran on immigration.
Don't say me. I'm not a Democrat.
He ran on immigration.
I'm a journalist.
He ran on inflation.
I'm not here paid
to
to
represent
one of the many
things he ran on in addition to
he ran on the issues that people care about. He ran on the economy. He ran on
nobody's saying that he didn't run on those things, but he also ran on vengeance.
Yes.
He did also run on go.
You see his face and look at him smug, smiling because he can't even hold it in. He knows he ran. One of his main pillars was just being racist, just attacking calling Kamala dumb and lazy. All these nasty things, poisoning the blood of the country. This was one of his main pillars, and the other pillar was getting back at everyone. Liz Cheney and the whole shooting squad, firing squad she should be near, in front of. She should have to face that.
Going after the people who went after him.
And journalists.
It was a key feature of all of his speeches.
Yes, Scott, he literally said, I am your retribution, the Biden crime family, lock her up. Went after Sessions repeatedly for not doing what he wanted Sessions to do, which was to indict Hillary or whoever he wanted to indict.
You can want his campaign to have been about, tax reform and things like that. That is not what he said on the stump. Time after time after time.
Also
he talked about going after his enemies.
I'm heartened by the fact that the left still cannot figure this out.
Even if you just take the January 6th part of it, he made that a big part of his.
Oh, we figured this out. America has a lot of hate. It has a lot of hate in its blood still. And misogyny, no question.
Campaign that he would, if he were in power, pardon those people. You can't say that was not on the agenda. It absolutely was.
What was the campaign about? Why did tens
but do you
of
think that
millions
he's
of
going to
people...
do those other things when it comes to the Department of Justice?
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't talk to him.
A big part of the campaign was...
He doesn't know. He doesn't give a shit. That's the other part of it. He just doesn't care. It doesn't affect him. Whether Trump's being racist, whether he's being fascistic, if he deports 20 million, none of this stuff matters. if this thing goes full authoritarian, it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't affect these people.
It was being a victim. Like, that was a big part of it, was his victimhood. They're coming for you, but they're going to have to get through me. That was his whole line. That is all about the enemies list. That is all.
I
Yes,
totally
it
I
is.
totally disagree.
The deep state.
That's
I mean,
not.
this is the stuff that he talked about on the stump. Unless you just don't want to listen to him. Those
No,
are his own words.
I listen. I listen plenty.
Scott, if you believe that
Yeah, he listened like many Americans, and Coleman Hughes, little smug brat. These people hate you. These people hate your color no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to act like them, Coleman. Those MAGA cultists will never accept you fully.
people who violated the Capitol on January 6th committed a crime, which I would hope you would, because they weren't invited in the way they claimed they were, right? They were not there. They didn't go through security the way the rest of us have to go through to get into the Capitol. They were prosecuted. They were convicted. And now they're serving jail time. And he has said repeatedly that they're political prisoners and he is going to spring them, right? What does that tell you about how he's going to weaponize the Justice Department, and on whose behalf? On behalf of people who committed crimes for him, not for anybody else.
I mean, I admire your, I don't know if I want to call it naivete or optimism that Trump is going to run on the policies you care about deregulation and tax cuts and whatnot. That's just not what his campaign was about.
Well,
That's not
I
what he
think-
has
I think-
indicated his
with all
people
due
do.
respect, I've run more campaigns than you, and I know what campaigns are about, and I know why people walk into voting booths.
Why
and you're
people walk
totally
into
wrong.
voting
guys.
booths?
He's such a smug little. He just won't admit that there's racism in this country, and these people are still trying to get back for what happened with Obama. And this anger and fear motivates people more than hope and joy. It just does. Look at his face. Oh God.
And what Trump plans to do when handed the presidency are two different things.
All right, guys, stick with us because we have a lot more ahead. Coming up next.
All right, guys, I have 2 more segments to show you. They're very quick, but you have to check these out. Let's get to those right now.
Scott has talked about this before.
Look. If you look at the arc of the Biden presidency, he was in really good shape until August of 2021, when Afghanistan happened. He went under 40, she went under 40, and they really lived there until the end of the
Why?
He's still there.
Why?
Look, I'll tell you why.
Because he ran and told us that the adults were back in charge. And that they
of
were
that. Because
and
Donald Trump was a child.
And you know what else?
Yeah.
And you know what else?
He's a
the fact that they wouldn't give these 13 service members' families the time of
bullshit,
day.
dude.
Time of day. They
I'm
would
sorry.
Not. They
I'm
would
sorry,
not.
but
And it was
Donald
wrong.
Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers. He did. He absolutely, despite he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super.
Trump's own generals said this. And the way he just nods his head and closes his eyes, he can't even look at the guy when he's saying that because he knows it's true. These guys would just defend anything. They would never admit, you know what, that was wrong. He shouldn't have said that. What's wrong with that? Now that Trump won, you're going to see people like Scott Jennings, Coleman Hughes over there, Michael Singleton, all these try to act like they're in the middle, Piers Morgan type of guys. Scott Jennings, not so much. He's always been a right lunatic. And you're going to see them move over even further to the right. You know why? Because Trump's in power, and this just helps them in their career and going forward. They know if they criticize Trump, especially when he's in power, they are out.
Emotional. I just.
Of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you, the political reality is that when they made that decision.
It doesn't matter.
When
But you
they-
don't admit
when
to
they
me
made
that
that
Donald Trump
decision-
hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You deny. You say
I know,
he
you're
lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say
It's
he
over,
lied.
brother. You're
Let me
still
let
It's
Scott
campaigning.
not over.
finish his
It'll
thought,
never
and
be
then I
over.
want to hear what
It'll
Coleman
never
is
be
gonna
over.
say.
You
Go
wish.
ahead.
Yeah, it will never be over. The fight here is never over. These guys are gross. The way he just laughs, again, no skin in the game.
The political reality is when they made that decision and everyone realized, oh my gosh, these aren't the competent adults that we were
yeah,
promised.
Donald Trump is.
And then,
Right.
and then when you pile on top of it the decisions that made inflation worse, it was a compounding interest of political crap over time that they could never get out of. And that's how she lost the race.
There was a bipartisan consensus to get out of Afghanistan. That wasn't the point. It was
yeah,
the
it
way
was
it was
Trump's
done.
decision to
no,
get
no,
out of
hold on.
Afghanistan.
It was
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
the
I think
implementation.
that's
It
worth
was the
saying.
fact that they took out our soldiers first instead of last, which is you would think would be common sense. And again, it's like you said, we thought the adults were in the room. That's why people voted for Biden. A return to normalcy, a return to competence. He's a lifelong public servant. We thought we're going to get normal, we're going to get competent, and that's what
we
it's
did.
about.
We did. And if
Guys, this is unbelievable. He said that we're going to get normal and competent. And it wasn't normal, really. Inflation is down to 2.5% after Trump's disgusting behavior during COVID, lying to the American people, acting like it wasn't that dangerous. We have him on tape saying that to Bob Woodward, giving Putin COVID vaccines behind everyone's back when we didn't have that many. These guys are gross. For him to say that Trump is not, he can't criticize Trump on any of this. He's criticizing the withdrawal that Trump initiated, that Biden fulfilled. But he will not call out Trump's racism. Never. You will never hear this guy say that. Trump's fascism, the disgusting things he's saying about shooting reporters and Liz Cheney. These guys are unbelievable. And I'm here to expose these guys because that soft-spoken bullshit is not going to work here.
in the veterans community.
Afghanistan doesn't signal that. Afghanistan.
The wars in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the Republican policies that led to those wars, the idea that Joe Biden made the final difficult decision, and his administration and his military leaders. I mean, you guys live on the tippy top of bullshit mountain. If you actually think that so many people think that the pullout of Afghanistan was the pivot point? Are you kidding me?
I mean, I can read a chart and I can read a poll. I guess you can't. But the reality is when he made that decision.
Your petty insults
when he made
are so weak, dude. You have no idea. Like, I don't even understand if you hear yourself talking.
Look,
You can laugh all you want, but like,
I'm
I
laughing.
can't read a chart. Like, it's
just a second.
It's so hacky.
The
It's so
reason-
uninteresting.
Look, the reason
and
that we
unconvincing.
brought this up.
That's Scott Jennings. When he doesn't have an argument, he just insults somebody and just laughs. Like these things have real implications with Trump as a leader. And again, he has it doesn't hurt him in any ways. And Coleman Hughes is just a pick me. He's just hoping that he gets spared in all of this and that he can still reach money and power or whatever his aspirations are. But guys, I have one more segment to show you. Let's check this out and then we can end it there.
I love the spirit of what you're saying. The only difference is I think it's more than a communication problem. I think it's deeper. I think it's the soul of the Democratic Party. It's about the beliefs. It's about the values. It's not simply a comms problem.
Inclusive.
It's a courage problem too. Guys, this is unbelievable. He says the problem with the Democrats is their values and their beliefs. Their values and beliefs that you, Coleman Hughes, should be treated equally. And the people of your community and minority communities that have been disenfranchised for years, that they get treated equally and get treated fairly and get loans and get education just as equal as those in the suburbs and have a chance at the so-called American dream, just like everyone else. They shouldn't have to walk around life with this weight vest called racism.
Courage and standing up against the progressive wing of the party. Why can't any Democrat just say something simple like, of course, we have no problem after your...
I would love for him to tell us the morals and the values and the beliefs of MAGA and Trump. Humiliate this guy. Humiliate him. Ask him that question. I would love to hear his answer.
Above 18, do what you want, live and let live. This is America. But below 18, if you can't get a tattoo, you also can't consort to hormone therapy.
That's not, listen.
Play whatever sport you want, but you can't
competing
play
with-
against people that have a natural disadvantage against you.
But you're
This is common sense, and no Democrat can say this. That's deeper than a communication problem.
It's not common sense. It's not. I worked very, very hard for weeks.
I'm sorry, most Americans are just not thinking about that. They're not voting on that. They're just not. These people who voted for Trump, a lot of them just have hate in their heart. A lot of them just can't vote for another black person, let alone a woman. That's just what I believe. Some of it has to do with Biden and how they felt about the economy and inflation, which the inflation was due to COVID under Trump's administration. Like some of these things, right, like hurt Kamala, that it wasn't really her fault. She had 100 and something days to campaign.
Months in our local school board, and so many Americans know what this is like. We got thumped and threatened and beaten over trans kids using the bathroom. It was horrifying what my community went through. I mean, and what the trans kids community. We had a woman in the back who yelled, "You're brainwashed," to a person who identified as trans. She got elected to the board. We can't compete. You say we have to be better on messaging. Tell me what we're supposed to do when Donald Trump says boys are going to school and getting a surgery and coming home as girls. The fact that anybody would believe that is insane to me. But how do we
Let me just say this.
combat that? I don't know what to do.
One of the aspects of this.
We should be protecting.
And it's not only that. It's the racist attacks, and the media has to cover it. They have to cover it. But instead of hurting Trump, this shit's been helping him. His racist attacks, he tried what he did in 2016, and it worked. It worked again, guys. We're not progressing. We're regressing. And for these people of color to defend Trump, it really pisses me off. And these Hispanics that overwhelmingly voted for Trump by, well, I think it was like 18 points, 16, something like that, 13 points from 2020. This is insane. They got like half of the Hispanic vote after Trump demonizes us constantly, probably just about more than anyone, or at least at minimum just as much as anyone. This is insane. But guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Please consider subscribing if you got something from this. Leave a like. Let me know your comments on what you think about this whole thing, and are we regressing? I think we are. I don't think we're at a stalemate. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll try to get back to you, but I'll catch you in the next one, and thank you for watching.